Welcome back to the party. On today's episode, we're breaking down the most exciting games on the schedule for the Vikes in 2025.
What's up, everybody? I'm Luke Braun, Locked On Vikings. My Vikings lie over the ocean. My Vikings lie over the sea.
Okay. Hey, this is Arif Hassan with the Wide Left Substack. Luke and I destroyed and sabotaged the show in secret special ways that Luke Inman has not yet found out.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talks Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
Yeah, I should probably go back and watch that episode, huh? See what kind of Easter eggs you laid for me there. You're going to make me watch the whole thing, too? And
yeah.
Right at the end? Yeah. Okay. All right. What's going on? Luke Inman, Locked On Sports Minnesota, your team every day. We got another jam-packed episode. We got the normal Monday crew, -1, Sam Ekstrom, of course. He's enjoying the sights and sounds of Italy right now. Poor guy. I'm sure he's just devastated.
Yeah, is anything happening in Italy right now? I can't.
Well, yeah, I mean,
track and pay attention to
just your normal day-to-day stuff, I suppose. Remember, you can
I heard
always
there's
find
a Chicago Bears fan that got into quite the scrap. He's running a
Maybe Sam could track him down and get a podcast going, like an NFC North rundown.
Yeah, quick live stream. Quick live stream.
Ask
like
him,
and subscribe.
Ask him how the World Series was that he attended.
Remember, you can always find these episodes on our Locked On Sports Minnesota network and the audio, of course, wherever you find your podcast. We got a fun little lineup today. We got Viking stock for the next hour or so. The 2025 schedule release is going down on Wednesday night, 7 p.m. our time. We're going to break down just what we think is the most exciting matchups of 2025 on paper. Will there be a couple overseas games for the Vikings? Sounds like there will. A little teaser. A couple rookie mini camp notes and observations I got for you guys. And then some big storylines we should follow this summer, like who's taking the left tackle reps for Christian Darrisaw while he continues that rehab. All that and more. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Monarch Money. Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, let's just dive right in here. I want to go through this 2025 schedule and pick out what we think is the best games, the games we're most excited about anyways, on paper before the official schedule does get released Wednesday night. It's been floating around. They may be playing some overseas games, at least one against the Steelers. Arif, you kind of broke some news here. I don't know the time frame, how long ago this was, but I'm just going to tee you up. It sounds like you maybe have a little bit more info or maybe you're going out on a ledge here, but it sounds like you think the Vikings are playing overseas, not once, but twice. Kind of tell us about that and kind of time frame wise when you think that'll be during the regular season.
Yeah, a couple of days ago, I was able to hear back from a number of people who would be familiar with this particular aspect of schedule construction. And, they told me that the Vikings were, 100% likely to play week 4 against the Steelers in Ireland at Croke Park, when that would be one of their away games. And then at week 5, I was told 99.99999%. And then I had other people,
sure then.
Yeah. I had other people tell me no, that they knew that this was happening. But week 5, they'll be traveling all the way from Dublin to London.
Wow.
To play in Tottenham against the Cleveland Browns. Remember, they play. So the Vikings have played in basically every facility in London that's hosted an NFL game. They've played at Wembley. They've played at Twickenham, and they've already actually played at Tottenham. They played at Tottenham last year against the Jets, and so they'll be playing against the Browns in week 5 at Tottenham. So back to back. And what this does is, so we know that the Vikings have 8 home games and 9 away games. This turns, one of those away games for sure into a neutral site game. So that's the Ireland game. And I think functionally, this turns the week 5 game into a home game because the Vikings will have the advantage of like rest and not having to adjust to this radical time zone shift against the Browns. And so I think they'll functionally have a home game. Now, I will point out the Steelers have exclusive, or not completely exclusive, but semi-exclusive territorial marketing rights in Ireland, both the Republic of and Northern Ireland. Nice to see the NFL recognize a united Ireland. And I'm sure that's their official statement. And they do, and the Steelers do have a strong fan base, a strong Irish contingent fan base. Part of that is because Dan Rooney has I think officially been the Irish ambassador, but also that they have long held, this kind of relationship, the Rooneys and the Steelers, with the island of Ireland. And so, and Steelers fans notoriously travel well. So that could be a genuine away game, but I kind of doubt it. The Vikings are undefeated in England, or I should say, in the Isles. And so, which was like all the way back to 1983. It's almost like 14 games, something like that. They're undefeated abroad, and hopefully that'll continue. But this does raise the question of like when their bye week will be, because O'Connell mentioned last year that they had the option of taking a bye week right after.
Didn't want it.
Game. They didn't want it. It was too early in the season. So we'll see if they take one in week 6 or later. I don't know.
Right. Maybe this changes things, having back-to-back weeks overseas. I would think it would at least play a factor for sure as far as that bye week goes. This would be a new precedent, correct? I know the Jaguars played back-to-back games last year overseas, but didn't they play in the same spot, if I'm not mistaken? Didn't they play maybe it was London, I believe.
Was it 2 of their home games?
Yeah, I believe it was one of their home games and one of their away games.
Right. It was the Bears and Patriots. It was the Bears and Patriots. I think they went 1-1. I think Caleb Williams went crazy that week. And then the Patriots just
funny because like the Jaguars have historically dominated in England, which is always like funny given kind of how often people talk about them moving over there. And they've overperformed the rest of the season performance, regardless of whether or not they've actually won the game. They've overperformed the rest of the season performance when playing in England. So I think there's something to the familiarity of repeat travel, as well as the familiarity of doing it in back-to-back weeks. That kind of gives you a little bit of an advantage. But yeah, the Jaguars are the last team I can remember that did a back-to-back international. I'm not sure that there's any other team before the Jaguars.
Yeah, I feel like this would set the precedent. Yeah, the Vikings would be the first team to play back-to-back weeks, but in different locations overseas. Which again, maybe the NFL starts doing that more, I guess, moving forward. But we'll see how this all shakes out. I mean, both you guys have been to the overseas games. Arif, you were at London. You've been to almost all of them. It feels like the last 3-4 trips overseas.
Yeah, I was there for the Steelers game. I think it was at 2013.
The Big Ben. Big Ben.
The Browns game in 2017. Been to the Saints game and the Jets game that just happened. So I think I've been to basically everyone since 2013.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because you were Bron, and you were at that Saints game as well, the double doink game in 2022. Will you just give the listener just a kind of quick snapshot who the people who have never gotten to experience attending a game like that, a quick snapshot of maybe the best parts as a fan, and maybe the most challenging or difficult parts maybe people don't think about. Like, give me the peak in the pit, they call it, right? The best part and the worst part of the entire process the standard fan goes through when traveling to an NFL game abroad.
Yeah, it was a pretty smooth experience. Tottenham Stadium's a nice stadium as far as these things go. Like, I'd rather watch a football game there than at like Soldier. It's no US Bank, but it's nice. And I think the thing that was most striking to me is, you are not the majority of the attendees of these games are not Americans that traveled, right? These are all English people. And that means that they are soccer fans. And that means that they have the traditions of soccer fans. So it is electric. It's awesome.
Gotta be fun. It always looks fun. Yeah.
It's, like breaking out in random song kind of thing. Sweet Caroline
every
gets
time.
the place is just bumping
They
in the middle of a second
love
quarter
that.
timeout.
Yeah,
They are
like
so about that.
I love that.
yeah. And it does not matter how exciting the product is. Like they are going hard for it. It's a really sweet environment.
It's like St. Paul Saints game on steroids. Like we're not here to watch the game. We're just enjoying. We're just enjoying like the ambiance here. Like, oh, Bill Murray's coming out to throw the pit. It's just like fun. It's just something that you don't get to experience a lot. And Arif, you kind of touched on it already, but I mean the pros and cons, I guess, somewhat obvious, but I think you went into it with a little bit more detail as far as the Vikings specifically go and how this affects the rest of their schedule and season. You're already over there, a little bit more comfortable. But again, it's not like the Jaguars that played in the same stadium in back-to-back weeks. Moving again to a completely different country has got to throw a little wrench in that process. But nonetheless, the pros and cons, I guess, top of your head without obviously experiencing this yet, what you think they will be for the Vikings as far as kind of the challenges they might face.
Yeah, so the Vikings will have the advantage of getting acclimated to the time zone differences, the changes in their routine. We've seen like the decrease in home field advantage over the past couple of years, and we've had kind of the natural experience of like not having like these full stadiums to see kind of what is the reason we have home field advantage. And one of the reasons that home field advantage has been decreasing, aside from the fact that we have like instant replay and stuff like that, is that teams are getting a lot smarter about things like sleep science and managing time zones. And we still see home field advantage strongest when teams are traveling significant distances, especially west to east for earlier games. And so that's when that has been retained. And so we know that distance traveled and time zones traveled have a big impact on the effect that a team has in terms of their versus their normal play at home. Right. That's one of the reasons that the home field advantage exists. And so the Vikings will have access to maybe even a stronger home field advantage than they might have for a divisional game at US Bank Stadium, despite the fact that they won't have the crowd necessarily with them. Although the Vikings do have a very strong international contingent abroad. Like I know that like when you cover a team for a podcast, we're like, yeah, the fans travel, they're all really good.
Right.
People love them abroad. This is like genuinely true that like the Vikings have a much stronger fan base abroad than many, many other teams internationally. And that's going to be probably a big boon to them. So I think that there's more advantages than disadvantages. I do want to say you're right to point out that they are two different countries. And so there is going to be travel in between it. And that presents a lot of logistical concerns. Now, there have been a lot of changes in all the problems that occur with traveling internationally for a game. There's a lot of logistics involved, from making sure that players get access to meals that they're comfortable eating. They don't actually get to eat that much English food, which is probably a benefit. They don't actually get to like eat the food. They try to make sure that the food is as familiar as possible. But like, you bring a bunch of equipment that runs on electricity, right? But
hey, did anybody bring the outlet adapter?
You have to bring the outlet
adapter. We got to go back.
And I do want to say the distance between Dublin and London is about the distance. It's less than the distance between like Minneapolis and Green Bay in terms of like travel time.
Right. Yep.
But you have to like if in order to play in Green Bay, you had to spend a week in Green Bay and you had to bring all your stuff with you.
Right.
And that I think
is practice there. Find like an unfamiliar like field to practice on.
So you'll be
they're not going to have gridirons at every high school.
Right. You'll be practicing unfamiliar field. The Vikings, I remember for the Browns game, the Vikings were practicing on the lawn of a castle, which just did not have enough room to have practice on. It was crazy.
And they won. They won.
They won. And then after that, I think for the Saints game, they practiced at like a rugby facility that was huge, and they had enough. So it's always a little bit different. But you have to make sure that your equipment works there. You have to make sure that you have access to, like, if you bring a printer, for example, the paper that they sell in the UK is different than the paper that you have here in the United States.
Dude.
You just have to like be aware of all of these small things, and the people that run operations are familiar with all of these challenges. So, but like when you move from Ireland to England, you have to move all of the stuff that you packed with you to go to Ireland.
Right.
And again, the challenges are much smaller now than they were before because the NFL has instituted a process. One of the really big advantages that people have when they go to cities that they're familiar with is that they know where to get everything they need. Oh my God, the printer broke down. I know who to call about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you didn't used to have that in international games. Now you do that. There's a whole process that's been streamlined for all of the logistics. Now they know that they need meeting space. Right. And so the hotels that they'll be, accommodated at will have meeting space. Well, before they didn't know that. Still, that travel means you're moving a bunch of stuff over that you typically wouldn't have to move over for a typical away game because you travel on like Friday, play on Sunday.
Right.
And then, so it is a little bit different, but it is still an advantage over the Browns who have to travel, do all of that, but for a cross-country or a cross-ocean trip. So there's all of that. Obviously, Vikings fans are a little bit disappointed, especially the ones that live in the Rust Belt that were planning on going to either the Browns game or the Steelers game. They're going to miss out, and that really sucks, and I feel for them. But I think from a competitive standpoint, the Vikings are more advantaged here than I think a lot of teams that end up traveling internationally. A, because they don't lose any home games. B, they might functionally gain a home game, right?
Right.
And C, like I think that the Vikings, because they've done this so often, are more practiced in this kind of international gameplay than, say, the Browns are. So I think it's a net advantage for them.
Yeah. Great breakdown there. A lot of good tidbits and stuff. And you're totally right. Like it's not ideal. It's not as easy as just playing a home game, obviously, but not the logistical nightmare it used to be traveling overseas in Europe, 10, 12, 15 years ago when the NFL first started doing this, for sure. We've come a long way for sure as far as the logistics transitioning from one spot to the other, especially going overseas, which is great. How confident are you in this? I mean, is this going to be on Sam's freezing cold takes here, in a couple months here? Or
20 minutes talking about international, and then they don't have international games.
That would be amazing. Oh my God. Pretty confident anytime. Like, I'm not a breaking news guy, right? So I get nervous anytime
for sure
I break news. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Once I broke a UDFA signing and I got like nervous about it for like 5 minutes, right? I was like, did this happen? And then like the agent's the one who told me, right? So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm like, But Ben guessing a couple hours after I ended up tweeting this out, ended up tweeting out something very similar. I know that Alec Lewis had reported that this was a possibility way back during the owners' meetings that this might happen. I'm very confident. I wouldn't have tweeted it out if I wasn't confident.
I know you wouldn't have. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not going to not be nervous.
For sure. Totally get it.
Yeah.
Never know. It sounds like, obviously, as you always do, you've done plenty of due diligence to hear Ben Gessling kind of back it up, or at least a lot of the meat and potatoes, if you will, of this story. It sounds like you're definitely on the right track. I would be surprised after all this to find out that this didn't take place. Here's what I want to do, though. I want to do a blind top 10 ranking of your most anticipated games on the Vikings schedule. I'm going to take out the Packers, Lions, Bears. We're not going to do that. I'll say a game.
Blind top 10 ranking of every
the other 10 games.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Sam's gone. Of course. He's in Italy. He can't hear us. Sam, can you hear us?
No rules.
Sam, can you hear us? No, he's gone. I'll put you through it. I'll say a game on the schedule. You rank it 1 through 10 without knowing what game's coming next. And then when you're done, Ron is going to analyze it and tell you which ones you got wrong.
Okay, so I should be writing these down, huh?
I'll write them down for you just in case. But there is one extra game. There's technically 11 games here that I'm going to take one out.
You have therefore ranked the 11th.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, that's true. Fair enough. Well said. Okay, so let's start with this one. Philadelphia Eagles at home. Philadelphia Eagles versus the Vikings at US Bank Stadium.
Just anticipation, like how excited I am, not like how confident I am the Vikings are going to win.
No, yeah. Just how excited, like wow.
How hyped the game is.
Yeah, the hype.
I'm going to go, I mean, there are some pretty
think about which games could be on prime time potentially as well. We don't know about, but
I'm going to go third.
3, got it. Eagles at home, 3, got it. All right, next one up. Cowboys in Dallas at Jerryland. Cowboys in Dallas at Jerryland.
Okay. I'm going to go 7.
Just got George Pickens. Okay. What'd you say, 7?
Yeah.
7 away. Okay, let's go back home now. Commanders. Jaden Daniels coming to US Bank.
2.
Washington Commanders.
Wow, over the Eagles.
2.
Yeah, I'm more excited about that game.
Like it. I think
it's really interesting.
Back on the road. Steelers. Okay, Steelers. So
Yeah, so the
Ireland
Cowboys are a
Steelers.
better team than the Steelers, but I'm so jazzed for international games.
For sure.
So I'm gonna give this one a 5.
5. Steelers likely in Ireland. Back home we go. Ravens, Lamar Jackson coming to town. Boom. There it is. Okay. Ravens at home, number 1. So right now you got Ravens, Commanders, Eagles, 1, 2, 3. Back on the road we go. The Browns, the Cleveland Browns. As you've hinted already, another overseas game
it's
likely
an international
taking
game,
place.
but also like, come on.
It's
the
the
Browns.
saddest franchise.
It's the saddest
it would
overseas game
suck.
the Vikings ever
If
play.
Shedeur Sanders starts by week 5, the fourth quarterback on the roster,
Yeah.
in theory, starts by week 5, this moves up, but I think that's not happening. So
Like the most likely options are either that this is a matchup against Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, gross. Overseas.
yeah, okay, so this goes 8.
8.
After the Cowboys.
Got it. 8. Okay. Back home we go. Joe Burrow and the Bengals coming to US Bank. Don't get to see Jamar Chase and JJ strap it up.
That's got to be 4, right? Like I think
4,
I don't know that there's anything left on the on that list.
Bengals 4. Back away on the road. Oh, Sam Darnold in Seattle. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks on the road.
Totally forgot. Oh my gosh. Okay. Screws up probably.
I feel like you got to go 6 here. You got 6, 9, and 10 left.
That sucks. Okay, I screwed up. I should have put Cowboys even lower. Yeah, I'm gonna go 6. Dang.
Seahawks on the road. Sam Darnold revenge game 6. Last home game Falcons. Michael Penix and the Falcons.
Last.
That's good. Save that last one. Back on the road. Last one. Chargers. Los Angeles Chargers on the road.
Yeah, so I wanted this one to be above the Cowboys, but I just don't have the room for that, right? So
that's kind of the fun thing about these. Like, it's never going to be perfect, ideally.
So the one I have left is 9.
Yep, you got 9. So we got to plug it in. Chargers on the road, number 9.
Right.
So here's the Reefs 1 through
Herbo.
10.
What was the unused game there? Was it Giants?
It was the Giants. Yeah.
Well, that goes
just flung
11th.
Well,
anyways.
okay, great.
I flung out the Giants. Yeah.
Perfect.
I kept that one out. So here's your 1 through 10. Ravens, number 1. You're most excited about Lamar coming to US Bank. In fact, your top 4 are all home games at US Bank. Ravens, Commanders, Eagles, Bengals. And I got to agree, man, that's a pretty star-studded lineup there. Maybe I'd tweak 1 or 2, but nonetheless, that would probably be my top 4 in some sort of order. Number 5, Steelers across seas, likely in Ireland. Number 6, Seahawks, Sam Darnold, revenge game in Seattle. Number 7, Cowboys in Jerry World. Number 8, Cleveland Browns. Number 9, Chargers in LA. And number 10, the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like all in all, though, for these blind top 10s, which are almost impossible to be pristine, besides that Chargers one, maybe I'd flip and get above the Browns. I feel like you did pretty good. Luke, what do you think about a Reefs top 10? Just top of your head, knee-jerk reaction. Anything you'd change or any obvious mistakes you want to call them out for?
Yeah, I mean, what you've talked about, right? The Chargers going above the Cowboys, maybe even above the Seahawks, is as fun as the like Sam Darnold revenge thing will be. That was not a bitter divorce at all.
Yeah.
It was go get paid.
Yeah.
And bless you. Like,
yeah.
Congratulations.
We're good. We're good. You made me a lot of money. We're good. Yeah. In fact,
so it's
if you
like
want
a
me to throw
contentious
this
revenge game.
I probably owe you, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I would even maybe put the Chargers above that Seahawks game.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers are probably too high. I get the hype over international games, but the Browns are 8th. And I don't think the Steelers are that much more exciting than the Browns. So I could move them a little bit lower. I was surprised to see the Eagles 3rd beneath the Commanders and Ravens. You seem pretty confident in that. Defending Super Bowl champions coming in. But I guess the Ravens are like consistently the most exciting team. So I get that.
For sure.
This
is
probably put the Eagles over the Commies.
Fair enough. I think the Commanders are just more interesting as a team, and maybe that's just like my writer brain and not like going to a game and watching it. But the Commanders are just like more fascinating as a team. I think the Eagles at this point, I'm a little bit bored with them, and they don't like, there are good teams that are boring and good teams that are exciting. And like the early version of the Mahomes Chiefs were a good team that was exciting, right?
Yeah.
But I think the Eagles are kind of more good team that's boring. Still top 3, obviously, right? But like Jalen Hurts just doesn't like do it for me in the same way. And again, top 3 in the same way that like Jaden Daniels does,
For sure.
right?
For sure.
So like the Eagles are a better team than the Commanders, as much as I hate that.
They got the Barkley factor now last year, obviously. That adds a little spark as far as just pure entertainment goes. But I'm with you. I'm with you. It's all about parity and Chiefs. Obviously, a lot of people didn't want to see them make the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl because of just parity's sake after a while. Eagles now, after so many years of success, I get it. Still in your top 3. Like I think a lot of people would put them in there, but just parity's sake. Tough to beat guys like Lamar. And I'm with you on, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow actually might be in my top 2 with Lamar, to be honest. But nonetheless, no matter what order we have these top 4, this is an insanely fun lineup of opposing quarterbacks that we'll be facing at US Bank Stadium. All 4 of them.
The home schedule is ridiculous. The road schedule is like all of the easiest games. It's wild how this sorted out.
This is the year you want to be a season ticket holder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, given that these are the opponents, that's exactly how you'd want the home and road split.
For sure.
It's perfect.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, when
and
people
like
talk
the hardest road game.
Yeah.
Seahawks, Chargers?
Seahawks. I mean, always
Chargers?
in Seattle. Always.
I don't want to like
right?
knock Sam too much because he rules, but I'm gonna say it's the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think it's the Chargers. I think the Seahawks are a little bit like in an identity crisis right now. The Chargers are very much not.
Yeah. Their O-line was atrocious last year.
I was about to say,
how they
fixed
that
instances
O-line.
Where the Chargers can like definitively say they have a better O-line than the team they're being compared to.
Yeah. It's fun though. I mean, this is again, when people talk about the upper tier of quarterbacks, right? Lamar, Joe Burrow, Herbert, Jaden, Jalen Hurts, put him wherever you want, maybe not elite, but like upper tier, right?
Sure.
Even Penix versus JJ McCarthy as well. Battle between the former top 10.
There's a storyline there.
Yeah. Sure. And we'll talk about it later, but again, just interested to see how many prime time. It just feels like with so many elite quarterbacks, there's got to be some good prime time games.
I would imagine.
They only had 2 last year.
At US Bank Stadium at night. With these matchups, especially with the Vikings winning 14 games last year,
remember,
the
Vikings
intrigue of JJ McCarthy,
14-win team last year,
seriously, and then like just the guarantee, hey, we're gonna have Monday Night Football. Lamar Jackson's gonna be on TV, like you're not gonna. It's like Vikings Giants. That's maybe not like we aren't sure, but like we're sure about the Eagles, we're sure about the Ravens, we're sure about the Bengals. So I feel like a lot of US Bank Stadium at night could be happening.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of night, and if not, the afternoon slot, which I'm not used to. I'm used to a lot of the noon games, but
well, especially last year.
No more Kirk Cousins. We don't need to
with those noon games. Right. Yeah, I mean, 2 primetime games last year, right? The Monday Night Football game against the Bears. You had the London game, obviously, week 5, but what was the other primetime game? Now I'm blinking. I wrote it down. Anyways, 2 primetime games. And then it was like all noon games except like 3 o'clock game on West Coast. I think
they got flexed to the afternoon a bunch.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
What was it? It was Thursday night in the Rams and then Sunday night against the Lions.
That's right. Yeah, that sounds right. Actually, was that was the other primetime game, the Rams game, Thursday night. Yeah. All right, good stuff. Plenty more deep dive from this one. A couple rookie mini camp observations I want to throw at you guys, but that's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Monarch Money. You ever go check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's so easy to lose track, isn't it? Well, that's why there's Monarch Money. Monarch Money comes in. It's like your own personal CFO. Monarch Money gives you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete finance command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and instead you start building wealth. I know when I started using Monarch Money, I realized just how much I was spending on streaming services, Max, Netflix, Apple TV, Hulu, you name it, I had it. But now I budget smarter and I save more than ever. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your entire first year. All right, just a couple quick rookie mini camp observations that's been circulating a little bit on the Twitter sphere. TCO Friday was the only day it sounded like media was allowed to watch. Sounds like the offensive and defensive line kind of worked off to the side, so no 11 on 11s right away, pretty much just 7 on 7s. Max Brosmer was the guy who took most of the reps. Sam Brzezinski behind him, the local Woodbury kid. Brosmer apparently started out 6 for 8, looked pretty sharp. Problem was, both his incompletions were picked off. One by the UDFA, Zamaya Vaughn out of Utah, right? 6'3", like 186, pretty long and lanky, kind of that height, length, straight speed guy. I know he ran a 4.45 at his pro day. He's out there making plays, turning some heads. And then
I think he turns like a freighter.
Well,
I think that's why he didn't get drafted.
Yeah. I mean, that's why he's like.
And he's played like 3 years in the secondary. Like he never played it in high school.
He had never played, and then all of a sudden he started like 31 straight games at boundary corner or something like that for the youth.
Yeah, well, when you're 6'3" and run a 4.45,
like who else we got? Yeah, throw him out there, see what happens. Kobe King though was the other interception. Sounds like he took that to the house, pick 6, 0 interceptions at Penn State. That was one of his big knocks coming out, him in coverage. So more of that 2 downhill thumper kind of guy. But who knows? Maybe turn some heads from the coaches and teammates and peers as well. But obviously, the big thing too, when you talk about especially quarterbacks, like we're tracking everybody's, quarterbacks, completions, incompletions, interceptions. You always got to remember, like, these interceptions could be on the receivers, maybe not running the right routes or not knowing their assignments, etc. You always got to take some of these numbers with a grain of salt. But, it did sound like Brosmer looked pretty good out there on day 1. Not sure how days 2 and 3 went, but nonetheless, what do you guys think the actual odds are that Max Brosmer can go in and compete for this quarterback 3 job with Brett Rippon? Like, Arif, does he have any chance at all, do you think? Or is this just that camp body you got to bring in and be that 4th guy to soak up some of those last extra reps on the dog days of training camp?
From a strict probabilistic perspective, he technically does have a chance.
Sure.
But no,
legally you have a chance.
He legally has a chance.
Yeah,
it's a single digit percent.
Single digits kind of high. He's got at least a fraction of a percent, perhaps greater than that. But no, I think it's
an integer.
I think it's Brett Rippon's. He'd be cool, right? I think that players who kind of overcome the odds to do it. So somebody who's like a UDFA, especially a rookie UDFA, they're likely to be much better than the average player at their position, right? So, which is like we see this with the tryout effect, right? Players who sign on as UDFAs as tryouts make the team about twice as often as UDFAs do, as a percentage chance, right? And I think that's true kind of throughout the stack. Like if you've got a 5th round rookie who ends up starting, they're much more likely to be good than a 2nd round rookie who ends up starting, right? So it would be cool if Brosmer won the job, because I think he's had to prove a little bit more than most players that are in the quarterback 3 position. Nevertheless, if that happens, I would be worried were we to find out the answer to that question.
They gave him a nice little, $250K signing bonus to get him here. I remember Ron Johnson told me, actually, that they liked him back at the Gophers Pro Day last year when he was thrown to his teammates at the Gophers Pro Day. So it seems like they've maybe had their eyes on him.
Like a couple of teams had him as a draftable prospect, which would explain why his guarantee was so high.
Yeah.
Which I've got a piece going up on Wide Left tomorrow about how much guarantees actually help us predict who ends up making the team. So
I like that. Yeah. Very, very intriguing.
That's helpful because I think we have a very weird relationship with that.
100%.
Like there's a lot of people that like, hey, yeah, maybe a draftable grade. Maybe I've got you as a 7th rounder. Well, 7th rounders get cut all the time.
Yeah.
But it feels like the second we see somebody, they got a 300,000 signing bonus. We just like pencil them into the 53 more than we would with draft picks. It's like that's probably an overreaction
for sure.
But then like I've underreacted to that, like as a response to that. So yeah, that would be.
There is some sort of happy medium. It's definitely case by case for sure. The player, the fit, where they actually land, and all that. But
that's a huge element that I'm not going to get into. But like I think that's something that goes way underrated. Is that especially a lot of UDFAs and their agents understand this. Like that team does not have any linebackers. You are a
Right.
linebacker. You're going to sign with that team for less money.
Yep.
And that's
And
going
then
to
you're
give
going
you
to make more
Right.
money in 4
'Cause
years.
if you
when
make
your
the
contract's
team,
out.
yeah, your minimum, like that 300,000 or that 250,000 that Max Brosmer gets, if he makes the team, he will and stays on it for all 17 games, just by virtue of being there and accomplishing nothing else, he'll get like 900K. Like,
Yeah.
it's
like,
way more money to make the team
Yeah.
than it is to
and-
take a little signing bonus.
And what's great about it, and again, people say that it's like it's better to be an undrafted free agent than a 7th round pick. That's not true. You know, I looked into it statistically in terms of like the dollars produced and how likely you are to make the team. But there is an advantage. Well, there's a couple of advantages, but one of the advantages to being an undrafted free agent is that you get to sign your extension way sooner than a draft pick does. So after 2 years as an undrafted free agent, you can sign an extension and your contract is up after 3. Whereas for a draft pick, you have to sign your extension in the 4th year of that contract. And so if you make the team as an undrafted free agent and you make it 2 consecutive years, first of all, you're probably pretty good.
Probably good. Right.
And then second, you can get that extension figured out real quick. And so you can get your money faster and it's probably like a larger amount. And so if that happens for Brosmer, I think that he's in a really good spot to like take care of himself for a while.
For sure. A lot of good points there. Good breakdown. Can't wait to check that piece out over at Wide Left here this week. Last year, they kept 6 wideouts. Okay. If they do that, let's assume they do the same this year. Your top 4 are locks: J.J. Addison, Jalen Naylor, Ty Felton. I personally feel like this Tim Jones is kind of their replacement for Trent Sherfield. That's just how it feels on paper right now. Run blocking, special teams guy, et cetera, et cetera. Who's number 6? Because Rondale Moore, I think a lot of people are just assuming, but he's got a long ways to go as far as this. Sounds like a brutal
could be a
injury
situation. Depends on the knee, on how things are.
What was the
I just worry about him not
even
even being ready for like OTAs and training camp and just being behind the 8 ball a little bit. Last year, Lucky Jackson and some other guys gained a little steam and then kind of fizzed out a little bit, but
none.
No guarantees. Okay.
$250,000 signing bonus.
Okay.
Sure.
$50,000 workout. So $300,000 of it is guaranteed. And then $600K per game roster bonus and 1.1 mil base salary.
I'm not getting out of bed for less than $1 million in terms of like roster.
Yeah.
And again,
like I forget where I saw this report or what it was, but I feel like I saw somewhere that like him being ready for the start of camp is like genuinely in question. So that that one might be on ice for a little while.
Yeah.
So, well, you've got the Texas kid, Silas Bolden. He's got return potential. I know at least somebody covering minicamp mentioned him. It might have been Alec Lewis. But, you know, he's somebody that has like a special team role, which is like a really critical element of the area of the roster that we're projecting. So that's somebody I think to consider. I mentioned, I think Lucky Jackson when we did our 53-man roster projections. That's somebody that's kind of interesting to me. But yeah, I mean, we're just playing darts at this point
for sure
with this group at the end. But those are the 2 that I guess caught my eye in terms of like projecting 53.
That makes sense to me. I do wonder how much Ty Felton, if any, they'll try to kind of incorporate on special teams with kick return and stuff like that too, and be that Brandon Powell replacement. Maybe start him in that role and see how he grows from there.
Yeah, is Ty Felton not the Trent Sherfield? That's the way it kind of feels.
Brandon Powell,
which is part of it, and like the pick Trent Sherfield in the 3rd round. But he does not have a lot of return experience. He is just fast and dynamic with the ball. So maybe you want to try, but he doesn't have
it is
experience with it.
It's curious that they didn't give him that role at Maryland, and maybe that suggested something. But he was on special teams a lot, just not.
Yeah, but he did other stuff on special teams.
Yeah,
you know, gunning, jamming, that kind of stuff. So kickoff coverage and all that. So I feel like that's actually kind of bad news for Tim Jones. Like, you don't get to have on your 53-man roster a whole bunch of Najee Thompson.
2 of these guys. Yeah.
Like you get one guy that's like special teams and special teams only. And the rest of them have to at least be quality depth at their position. You know, that like somebody like Najee Thompson who just cannot play corner from scrimmage. Like you just are never putting him in there. That's unreasonable. Needs to be really, really good on special teams.
You have to excel and stand out.
So much. Yeah. There's so many of these guys that are kind of there specifically to be that. There's Tavierre Thomas on the other side, who has mainly been a special teamer in the league. Tim Jones, Ty Felton. It's kind of tough.
Yeah, you
It's
can't
tough.
you can't have a back end of Dan Chisnas. Like that doesn't work.
Yeah, you
Right.
there's one like Dan Chisna honorary roster spot.
Right.
And I feel like Ty Felton kind of gets it unless he's more ready from scrimmage than it
Ty
seems
Felton
to me.
going to end up being the Vikings Velus Jones? Is that what's happening here?
The Velus Jones.
I feel like he's offensive Brian Asamoah.
Wow. Well, a couple third round picks.
That's
Asamoah was
my
fourth round pick.
perspective.
Asamoah was fourth round pick. But yep, same thing. Well, knowing the Addison suspension is probably looming, I assume they will keep 6 wide receivers again. That's just what my gut says there. But
at least for the first 3 games, because he won't count
at
towards
least
the
for the
53
first 3
during
games.
that suspension.
Yep, at least for the first 3 games.
Which opens up the door for guys like Silas Bolden or I mean, shoot, don't forget Lucky Jackson, who probably is the front runner for that like first practice squad slot right now, just as somebody with a lot more experience, or Jay Sean Jones or whatever. But then there's just a whole bunch of
if a guy like Lucky Jackson,
futures contracts and undrafted dudes, there's like 9 of them.
Yeah, right. Again, like Arif said, throwing darts. But if Lucky Jackson was ever going to go step up and just go grab this position and job, now is the time with Addison contract looming. You know they're going to keep 6 again, and just that last spot, or maybe 2 spots, just kind of feeling a little bit wide open right now. This is his time. It feels like. If he's going to make a run, if he's going to take that next step, I guess, in development. Who's going to get all the reps at left tackle this summer? Brandel, Walter Rouse, Justin School. I think School, and my gut is School ends up taking most of the workload. I think they just like the fact that, hey, we got a veteran who knows what he's doing a little bit more. Especially we got a first-year quarterback, right? First-time starter, I should say, a quarterback. I think they're leaning more on the football IQ, the pedigree over the youth, and kind of upside a little bit, especially earlier in camp too, when McCarthy's just starting to get his feet wet. But I guess it wouldn't shock me to see Blake Brandel over there either.
I wouldn't be shocked by anybody. Like if they put Walter Rouse there, like I wouldn't be completely like flabbergasted.
You just go, okay, I get it.
Yeah, because it's just
I'd much prefer that to moving into guard. Right, I don't think that works for him at all.
Yeah, I agree. Just like the speed of his hands. I think that that would make sense because you're not like asking that guy to start week 1, right? You're asking him to fill in a camp, and that gives you an opportunity to really evaluate him. Like you might be pretty comfortable with what you know about Justin School, and maybe you want him to get some more work on the right side anyway. And now that you've converted Blake Brandel to guard, because remember when he was initially on the team, he was like playing a lot of tackle. Mm-hmm. You might maybe want to keep him there so that you have depth at guard, because the Vikings just don't have that much depth there. And so there is a pretty reasonable path to suggest that, it'd be Walter Rouse, right? Playing left tackle. Not to suggest that during the season he would be the backup that goes in there, right? I think the guy that takes that rep during camp is not necessarily the guy that during the season you're like, hey, Darrisaw's got to go out for a couple of snaps. We're going to bring this guy in. It's not necessarily the same person. So it wouldn't shock me to see Walter Rouse there.
Yeah, agreed. Even though they didn't draft a running back, it does feel like they want to upgrade from their running back 3 from Ty Chandler. I'm not saying the Ty Chandler experiment is over or anything, but like it just felt like
king of the hill. There's people coming for him.
And running backs come on quickly. Like if you don't impress your first 2 years, it's really rare for you to end up making
all of a sudden take
impact.
A big Trent Richardson. What was it? Trent Richardson? What, 3rd overall, 4th overall? Just give him one more year.
Overall after the Vikings traded with the Browns.
That's right. Spielman stole a couple 6th and 7th round picks to slide back one spot.
Stole a Jarius Wright.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Do you think they go sign a Cam Akers again? Will they wait for somebody to get cut? Like who's backing up?
They have to wait for Cam Akers to sign with another team so they can trade.
That's what. That's in the contract now at this point. Yeah. Basically, that's in the contract.
I mean, we've got David Scott. We've got Trey Stewart. Trey Stewart's like an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, Trey Stewart, Jacksonville State.
So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But I think, primarily they'll be looking for someone from the outside.
Yeah. Ty Chandler also a big special teams role that will help him. Mm-hmm. And I think at least viable enough as an RB3 where he does not count toward the like Najee Thompson quota.
Yeah. Like replacement level.
That feels right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a leader in the clubhouse, when it comes to just you guys and your guts, when we talk about the cornerback 3 job, who's, last year is Shaq Griffin, obviously he's gone. It's a 3-man race, right? Mekhi Blackman, Jeff Okudah, and maybe somebody like Dwight McGlothern, or maybe you guys think it's just a 2-man race right now, unless they bring in somebody in, else in off the streets, which they very well could. There's been rumors about that, obviously. I think my gut right now between Mekhi Blackman and Okudah, I would say Okudah, but I wouldn't feel very confident about
it.
I would say
confidently say Blackman.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Okudah has not been a starter.
Maybe I just haven't seen Blackman in so long. I
get it. But
I just need to see it again with my own 2 eyes.
We have an explanation for why Blackman hasn't played, right? It's because of injury, right? We need an explanation for why Okudah hasn't played.
Why Okudah's not good.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like our priors on Okudah tell us kind of what his ceiling and floor are likely to be. Yeah. And also the way the team has talked about Blackman, teams talk about their players in ways that aren't necessarily 100% representative of what they think. Remember how they were talking about Brian Asamoah at this point last year? It sounded like he was like the second coming of Patrick Willis.
That's right. Yeah.
But the way that they've talked about it throughout the offseason, to me, suggests that they do have a lot of faith in him. And so I would say that they planned around him being one of the 3 starting corners, which is not to say that they exclusively planned around that, but that was the primary vision that they had in mind when they were approaching this offseason. And I think that that's pretty clear with the way they built it out. I mean, like, compare that to how they talked about Blake Brandel at the owners meeting. Hey, you got to give him some grace. Yeah. Like, that's not the same thing at all.
Yeah, good point. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I got one more here for you, and then we'll move on to segment 3 here. Most defensive snaps in 2025: Jalen Redmond, Taki, Levi Drake Rodriguez, or Ingram Dawkins, the rookie out of Georgia.
Ingram Dawkins.
Yeah. Taki.
Okay, you going Taki?
I'm going Taki.
I feel like Ingram Dawkins. It maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the odds would be in Vegas, right? I would love to know. Like, is this the favorite, or am I going way out on a ledge?
The reason for this is less to do with how much better I expect Taki to be versus Ingram Dawkins or whatever. And I like Ingram Dawkins a lot. I've made that.
It's the versatility, right?
But it's
double
the
chances to get on the field.
More snaps for Ingram Dawkins to play, just because Taki is playing a nose tackle role.
Agreed.
And Harrison Phillips does consume a lot of snaps for a nose tackle. But he's not like a Dexter Lawrence in terms of that, but like he does consume a lot of snaps. So I just think there's not that many snaps available. I think Taki's probably at the moment, there's a good chance he's a better player. But I just think that
that's not the
Ingram
question.
Dawkins has a lot of opportunity to play
at
both the 3 technique position, where there's going to be more snaps available with more rotation, and maybe playing a tweener edge role. So
I agree with you.
That's the reason.
If the question was who's just the most talented player, like if I'm just building a defensive line right now, granted, we're not talking about Pro Bowlers or Hall of Famers here, but like if I'm just building who's the best guy, I agree. We don't know anything about Ingram Dawkins, what he looks like yet in the NFL. But as far as the snap count goes, he just feels like I'm playing with house money, knowing that he's got so much more flexibility and versatility. And Brian Flores using a 5th-round pick on him, I feel like he's going to get him out on the field a little bit. Although I probably said that about Dallas Turner last year, and obviously we saw how that went. So not to say that Dallas Turner was bad, but it's just there's sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen. It feels like in this front 7 defensive line rotation that Flores has got going right now.
Yeah, I'm just kind of betting against the rookiness of it all.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
With that, like that's all it is. Jihad Ward, who I think Tyrion Ingram Dawkins kind of replaces that role, did play like 40% of snaps.
That's true.
But that role had reduced quite a bit at the end of the year when Dallas Turner was coming on a little bit more.
Right.
And, I don't know if that's like an exact thing. But
adding in Hargrave and Allen does consume a lot of those.
A lot of those other snaps. So we're rotating there. However, like the combination of Redmond and Taki Taimani, obviously Taki Taimani got hurt last year, so he's with. But the combination of Redmond and Taki Taimani was like 24% of snaps for that, which is lower than I thought. So I still think that like a rotational, edge rusher, maybe inside pass rusher, 3rd down guy or something like that.
Sub-package guy,
which is what Jihad Ward did. He ended up rotating in a lot and rushing from the inside a lot, but it was really only on pass situations, only in like NASCAR packages.
Yeah.
Not like sitting there trying to take double teams on 1st and 10,
Sure. Yeah. I would love to see Harrison Phillips as just snap. It feels like that dude it has been forced the first year or two he got here, maybe a little bit less last year, but to just be out on the field constantly all the
60%,
time.
59.5%.
It just feels like so much more than that. Maybe it's just a first, second down thing, but interesting. Okay. One more quick segment I got for you guys.
Before, yeah.
My what's more likely segment coming up for you guys. That's all coming up though after a very, very quick ad break. All right, final segment, total ripoff. You guys ever watch Rich Eisen's bit? What's more likely? I got a Vikings edition for you guys. Okay. What's more likely? Vikings edition. I don't know what music Sam usually plays. We're gonna go with this dance pop here, and just gonna see how this.
No,
goes.
that's it. Sam plays this. You're right. You got it.
Okay. You don't want to go too loud here. It's like cologne. One spray. That's enough, man.
One spray. Walk through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll walk through.
Right in front of
Sebastian
you.
Maniscalco. Yep. There you
go.
Okay. Here we go. What's more likely? And this is just kind of rapid fire. If you want to elaborate 15, 20 seconds, go ahead. But what's more likely? First one up. What's more likely to end the higher total in 2025? The numbers of games started by Donovan Jackson this year, or the numbers of touchdowns scored by Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason combined?
Donovan Jackson.
So
yeah,
Donovan
17. That feels like a lot
be
of rushing touchdowns.
16, 17. Yeah, but also passing receiving touchdowns though too.
Sure, okay.
All right. No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. They got TJ Hawkinson. They got a guy named Jackson Jefferson, something like that.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably going to score a couple of tutties, right? So I don't know that there's going to be that many touchdowns available for the running backs. 15 games for Donovan Jackson, conservatively, right?
Right. We know. Yeah, we know what Jackson's going to get us, barring an injury.
It would be tough for me to see that running back tandem, even with receiving touchdowns.
Yeah. Last year, Aaron Jones rushed for 2 touchdowns. So
let's go.
Not bad. Not bad. All right. What's more likely? Quarterback from the 2024 class to have a Pro Bowl season: Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, or J.J. McCarthy?
J.J. McCarthy, sue me. I'm putting it out there. I'm putting it in the ether.
Screaming into the microphone.
So it's Caleb Williams, Drake May, or
no? Michael Penix, Caleb Williams, or J.J. McCarthy? Who's most likely? Who's more likely to have a Pro Bowl season this year?
It sucks because I just rewatched Caleb Williams' preseason the other day, and I was like, this was like pretty good stuff. And so I've actually ignored his real NFL play for like the past couple of months.
Just blinders on. Yeah.
I'll go with the draft priors. I'll go with Caleb, and then reverse jinx it. So
that's fair. Yeah, no, I love a good RJ. Great. All right, next one up. More likely to end the season as a top 5 unit in the NFL: the Vikings offense or the Vikings defense?
Oh, I like that one. Oh man,
I'm gonna go with offense. I think there are some really glaring issues on the defense that they've neglected, namely the secondary.
A little worried about Brian Flores' defense getting a little exposed this year.
Well, so the defense seemingly gets solved at the end of the season every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they don't have any corners, and eventually you figure out how to deal with like their
zone.
It makes you so schematically like you may not be diverse with your coverages.
Yeah,
like once all you can do is disguise it a million different ways, but you have to eventually rotate into like cover 2 because
I think Flores is always like trying to race ahead of like what like those weaknesses are or whatever, but I just trust him to do that for a good chunk of the season well enough that even if it collapses again late in the season because of this personnel issue, it'll end up being top 5 because it's like top 2 for like 13 weeks out of the year,
and then a couple blow up weeks back to back.
So you end up top 5. So I'll go with that because again, like a rookie quarterback, it's always difficult to tell.
Who's gonna blow them up? Lions again?
Yeah, they're gonna put the Lions and
Bengals again.
Lions, yeah. Then the Bengals put it down and
at home this time.
Yeah, Jamar Chase puts up 250 yards and trade rumors start circulating again.
Right, guys who get rid of the ball quickly to insanely talented receivers who win one-on-one matchups against.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right, next one up here. What's more likely? J.J. McCarthy wins Comeback Player of the Year, or Justin Jefferson receives multiple MVP votes?
Oh, okay. So
Oh,
it doesn't even have
McCarthy
to
for
be MVP. It's
sure.
just like two MVP votes.
Yeah, 2 MVP votes. That's all I'm looking for. Because
so
one, I
so-
just feel like was too easy.
In
I feel
both
like,
of these
but-
seasons, you have extraordinary passing games, right?
Correct.
So
Yep,
it's
they kind of
interesting
feed
'cause
off
it's
each other a
pretty
little
highly
bit. Here.
correlated. I think in order for Jefferson to get any MVP votes, he has to get like 2,000 receiving yards.
Sure.
And certainly that's possible, right? But in a world where he gets 2,000 receiving yards, what is McCarthy doing, right?
Right.
He's got 5,000 passing yards probably.
Right.
Or 2,000, and it would be a very funny season.
Or yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think in that scenario, McCarthy wins it.
Well, also the competition you're facing too, right? Comeback player of the year. You got about 4 or 5 decent names in there,
who do
right
we
in the
even
mix.
know is it a comeback player of
MVP.
the
It's
year
the
right
best
now?
of the best of the best of the best of the best, right?
Yeah, I think JJ McCarthy just has to be like and there's so much quarterback bias to it that he's really advantaged. Justin Jefferson in 2022, when he almost crossed 2,000 yards, did not receive an MVP vote. I don't think
Which
that
is
this
insane.
Okay, so
If I would have remembered that, I would have put 1 MVP vote instead of multiple.
Yeah.
I forgot.
This
that.
is
I-
tough.
I would
because the
still say
comeback
JJ
player
McCarthy.
candidates are unusually strong this year. You've got Aiden Hutchinson, which
Oh
like
wow.
Oh, he's
That
got so much PR.
almost
Yeah,
a shoe in,
Yeah.
right?
Dang.
You got Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
You do have Dak Prescott, which I don't, whatever.
Okay.
You got Max Crosby. You got Tua, assuming he plays.
Okay. Those are
Um,
some big names, though. More than normal.
Yeah.
More than like your
Cooper
Joe
Kupp,
Flacco's
Stephon
and
Diggs.
you
like.
still got you
Yeah.
got quarterback bias here, but I think Aiden Hutchinson's probably the best.
I think Aiden
competition there.
Hutchinson, unless the injury has really impacted him in a substantially permanent
Maybe
way.
finally gets exposed for the fraud that he is.
Yeah.
that's a tough one even for me, man.
Next one up, more likely to happen first. Kwesi contract extension, or the Vikings sign a new tight end or running back to their roster.
Oh.
that tight end room
Ooh.
is looking weak.
It feels like
dude.
both things that could happen like this month.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Kwesi.
Let's go with so it's only tight end or running back. It doesn't include
Tight end or
cornerback?
running back. Yeah.
Okay,
Just
let's go with
'cause-
Kwesi. But if it included one more position like cornerback, I would have picked that one.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kwesi. That feels imminent, and an extra running back. I think could be a waiver wire day, like a cut down day move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that Kwesi's thing is done before.
Yeah. I guess what you do is you ask yourself, how quickly or how soon do you think this Kwesi extension is going to take place? And like you said, Brown, I agree with you. I think sometime this month, right? By the end of the month, I feel.
Yeah.
I
I think
wouldn't
if the
be shocked
season
at
in
all.
earnest starts, then we can start talking about it as a real story. But to me,
Yeah.
it's still just like an order of operations thing.
Right.
We're covering the like bureaucratic itinerary of the
Right.
Vikings front office.
Next one up, ends the season with a higher total. What's more likely, JJ McCarthy fourth quarter comeback wins, or games Jordan Addison is suspended?
Okay, so that's great. I'm gonna go with Addison, even though the Vikings have this one game / comeback thing that they've been doing for like the past 3 years. Because your range of outcomes for total number of fourth quarter comebacks is like between essentially 2 and 8. And
Right.
I think Addison gets suspended for 6 games. And so am I taking the over the under on fourth quarter comebacks?
Okay.
Like the most we've ever
You
had.
think it's going to
is-
be 6?
You think 6? A DUI is
I'm thinking
usually
3.
3.
Okay, that's a
thinking
good
3.
point. I don't know. I was getting pretty aggressive with it. But like, you gotta understand, like the record for fourth quarter comebacks is shared between, of all people, Kirk Cousins and Matthew Stafford, which are just like the two I would never. But
Right.
they both have 8, right? That's the
That was
record.
2022 Kirk Cousins, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. You got to start with how many games you think Addison's going to be suspended. I'm at 2 or 3, honestly.
I'm gonna go with 4
and-
just because I've already
Sure.
said them. So
Yep. That's fair.
And fourth quarter comebacks are just really difficult to produce on a.
It's like a weirdly specific thing. It's not close games. It's games
Right.
where you had to go into the fourth quarter trailing and then
Right.
win. So
Very
like a
unique
whole bunch of,
circumstances
if
that
you
is
go
out
in
of
tied,
everybody's control. Yeah.
if you go in leading and then lose the lead, but then get it back, that doesn't count. Like, so I feel like
Agreed.
there's all these little technicalities that can make things not count. So I'm still going to go with Addison, but precedent would say that this is a 3-game suspension. If it's more or less, that I don't know, reflects what mood Roger Goodell is in. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a good system.
Whoever knows.
What day do you catch him on? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Next one up, more likely to have more. Ty Felton touchdowns scored this year, or number of offensive line starting combinations during the regular season?
Well,
Combinations.
1 is bigger than 0, so combinations.
Combinations. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Felton.
All right.
Nothing,
All
dude.
right, man.
Nothing.
Like we're both down.
Trent,
on
hey,
Felton,
Trent
but that was
Sherfield caught one,
crazy.
didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't
That's
Sherfield
true.
catch one?
Sherfield did get one, yes.
Come on now.
But it takes like one injury, right?
Come on now. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
But,
Yeah,
just
go
like
ahead.
somebody's on the sideline for 3 snaps. It's another combination.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Last one. I got one more here for you. More likely to have the higher total number of primetime games on the Vikings schedule or number of turnovers forced by new starting cornerback Isaiah Rodgers.
Ooh.
So could be more than
Ooh.
interceptions. Could be forced fumble, right? Primetime games, though, as we've talked about, feels like there's going to be more than 2. But
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of primetime games. I'm going to go with primetime games.
I'm going to go with the primetime games, but that was a good one too. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. It could be like 3-3, you know? And
Right.
Yeah.
Remember, the one thing
it'd be a
is
pretty
that,
good
like,
result for Isaiah Rodgers.
yeah,
Vikings have to recover the forced fumble to count as a turnover produced.
Yeah.
So.
yeah. No, that's fair. That was fun. That was fun. That was a good little
That
bit.
music was like wild for this, but I respect
Dude, there is no good options in this music, dude. Okay, and if you try,
Look, we got the rights to what we've got the rights to.
if you try to upload one, you're getting canned. All right, you're done.
Yeah, do not do that.
Do not do that. By the way, funny stat about primetime games for the Vikes. KOC versus teams on primetime that ended the season with a record of 500 or better, 1-7 with a minus 98 point differential. So just when we thought we ridded ourselves of the Kirk Cousins primetime narratives, apparently now we got some KOC primetime curse that we got to talk about over and over as well. But
Great. Can't wait.
yeah, can't wait. Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff,
JJ
man.
McCarthy's pretty good at primetime, though. Like, that's like the one thing we know about him.
We're getting a pretty nasty little postseason narrative too.
It's true.
With
Yeah,
making
yeah.
it 2 or 3 years.
I've already been
Yeah.
seeing the one
Yeah.
and done memes for KOC, and it's like, hey,
Yep.
it's been 2 posts. Come on. But Lamar got it after 2 postseasons too, so maybe just people are just ruthless.
Yeah, and also, what do you want? Do you want the one and done, or do you want the Jeff Fisher? What was it, 7 and 9?
7
I mean,
and 9. Yeah, that's
We'll
Yeah.
take it. Baby steps. That was a lot of fun, guys. Well done, as always. Huge shout out to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys coming in the chat with us from show to show. After you're done with this episode, make sure you go check out Luke on Locked On Vikings each and every day. I'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday. It's Ron Johnson Show. Probably talking some Wolves. Late Wolves game tonight. 9 p.m. Yeah, 9 p.m. Central Time tip. But this crew will be back Thursday talking about the schedule release. That and plenty more. I'm sure Ron Johnson hopefully stopping by on Thursday as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Help us get to 10,000 subscribers. We're so close. But that's all for now. We'll catch you Thursday on the Minnesota Football Party.